Welcome to Standard Intelligence, your resource for competitive constructed Magic in the UK. This is episode 61 for the week beginning the 14th of January 2019. I'm Dr. Jack Patton.
And I'm Simeon Beaver. This episode is brought to you in part thanks to our supporters on our Patreon. Many thanks to those of you who have made a contribution. It is immensely appreciated by both of us. Anyone who's our supporter on Patreon by the 5th of February will be eligible for the February draw. If you'd like to be in it or would like to learn more about how to support us, please head over to patreon.com/SIcast. With that, let's get right into the news for this week.
So, we've had news coming at us thick and fast this week, some interesting updates. We're going to go through them at a relatively brisk pace, I believe. So we've had the name announced for the third Ravnica set, not in the block, obviously they're all standalone still, but the third Ravnica set now has a name. We are calling it War of the Spark.
But that is all we know.
That is, we don't have a set symbol, we don't actually technically have a release date, although Simeon's sleuthing has given us a possible...
I reckon the first weekend of April is the pre-release, and then so release date will be, from that reckoning, the 12th of April.
Yes, and that is based on Magic Fest timings around that period going suddenly dry over a 2-week period, over which Simeon, you suggest, will be the run-up to, and then pre-release and release weekends.
Yeah, and then that will mean it will be 2 weeks after release would be London Magic Fest and
Mythic Championship.
Mythic Championship, thank you.
Yeah, there we go. Got to start getting your nomenclature down, mate. You've got to start getting it. I know. New words for everything. New words for everything. So yeah, that's the next set that's going to be coming out. Still set on Ravnica, but not much else is known at the moment. Simeon, we've also had another product release announcement made. Do you want to tell us about that?
We've been told that we are getting the Challenger decks back. So you might remember that we had 4. Was it 4 or 5?
I thought it was 4, but I could be wrong.
4 or 5. We had Challenger decks about this time last year, about March-ish time, that were really good. They had lots of standard staples in that were rotating out in September, but they were very great. They were excellent decks for playing at FNMs, for getting into standard, and similar thing coming this way. I think Gavin Verhey has been very involved in it again. He tends to put very good decks together.
He is an excellent deck builder, yes.
So expect to see multiple copies of the standard stable cards that will be rotating out in September.
Yes, absolutely. Just as a reminder, the Hazoret red deck that the Challenger decks provided last year was almost, like I'd say about 80 to 85% the tier 1 mono red aggro deck.
Yeah.
So
I would not be surprised to see a very similar tier 1 mono red aggro deck again.
No, me neither. So yeah, I think that's a really good thing. I think basically the entire community came together and went, yes, these are freaking amazing. They are, for us in franchise players, they are reprints for cards that we may need or would like to test out. And for those of us who often try and get new people involved in the game, they are perfectly good products to point them at and go, this is what you need if you want to play FNM with me tonight.
Yeah.
And I think that's
they're it's $20, $30.
I think it's $30 this time round.
So $29.99, and it's 6 months worth of play from it.
Yeah, like that is
without touching a card.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've still got the ability to continue to upgrade these things. They're not full products, obviously, so they still give things for you to attain, to strive for.
Yeah, and
I think they're
to tweak.
Yeah, I think they're an excellent product, and I'm really happy that Wizards went, no, they were a success last year, let's do it again. I'm very happy with what they're doing on this front, on the Challenge deck front.
And speaking of being very happy...
Oh, so happy, Simeon. This announcement. And I was like, be still my beating heart, MTGA. You must love me so. So yes, we've had an announcement. The MTGA dev update came out. Obviously, we're still technically in beta, so we still get these sort of updates. We've had 2 of, in my opinion, the biggest issues with MTGA basically solved. The fifth copy of a card, so the fifth card issue, has been resolved to a manner that I find not simply satisfactory. I think this is brilliant. And
It is incredible.
And what's really annoyed me is that I didn't think of it.
Yeah, did anyone think of it?
No, we were all just sitting there going, well, how are you going to give us, like, mythic wild cards? Or like, I don't know, just make it so that we can never duplicate the cards? I don't even know. The new system is basically, if you were to open a rare that you already own, the system in a random pack that you're opening on the main screen, not in a limited event. You will not be getting... Yeah. You will not be getting the same duplicate protection in limited events. You can open any rares.
Yeah, but
they will be...
Even if you open it in the limited event and pick it,
yeah,
it will turn into
gems.
Something else after the event's over.
Exactly. So if you open a random pack and you were meant to get rare X, but you already own 4 copies, you will instead be given another card at the same rarity. That is perfectly reasonable. The only issue that basically what he pointed out previously with that plan was, well, yeah, but what happens when someone owns all of the rares or all of the mythics in a set and they're about to get another one? And the answer is, we get gems instead.
Yeah, just, oh my,
what a simple solution. We're all sitting there going, I mean, it's not like we've not got 3 sorts of economy that we could plug this into and that sort of thing. And they've just gone, oh yeah, we're just going to give you gems. And not an insignificant number of gems either. 20 for each rare, which obviously doesn't, recoup the cost of a pack. That is not the point here. No, but
you don't want it to recoup the cost of a pack because... You want it to be something you get that isn't too much, and I feel they've just hit it
perfectly.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but commons and uncommons, where you get a 5th card,
they are still going to be charging the vault.
Yeah, yes. They just contribute to the vault. So your commons and uncommons eventually turn into wildcards.
Yeah,
and the vault, they said, is currently going to stay the same, but they might tweak it in future.
Yes. Yeah, I mean,
but it's the rares and the mythics are the problem.
The rares and the mythics are the biggest problem because they're the worst feel bads, right? Where you go, oh, well, I've already got 5 copies of this, and all it does is insignificantly move me a point along a track to potentially open the vault somewhere down the line. If I keep doing this, if I keep having this bad feeling, I get to have a slightly not awful feeling.
Well, I get to open 1 mythic, 2 rares, and 3 uncommon wildcards. It's like,
it's not even, yeah,
especially when you're like, I need to get 3 rares for this deck. I need 3 more rares. Oh, I've opened a rare I've already got 4 of.
Yeah, exactly.
Ugh. And now you're going to you'll get a different rare. Yeah. Awesome. And you keep doing that, you'll end up with the set.
Yep, exactly.
The other thing they are also still doing, though, is the individual card rewards.
Yes.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, I'm really pleased that they've kept those. I think they're a really nice thing to have that's like super low impact on the economy but make you feel really good about how you're progressing, and
I feel that it's like you can easily collect the whole of Standard, the whole of Magic Arena, and it doesn't matter when someone has.
Yep, exactly. Yeah,
you can then buy packs at more expensive rate than it will cost you to buy the draft itself. So just go and draft.
Yeah.
What's the other thing we've had updated?
Okay, so the other thing is basically when this came down, it felt like we'd won, and I know that shouldn't be how it feels, but it did because it was like, no, this is affirmation that the MTGA team listens to the community, and what we've got is ranked constructed best of 3. Now there isn't a full announcement on this because they're basically saying, look, it's not going to happen until preseason 2 starts on January the 31st, so we're not going to give you the full gen yet, but we wanted to let you know we've heard you, we've heard the outcry for best of 3, and that's what you're getting. You're going to get a system for playing best of 3 in ranks. Now, does that mean best of 1 is going away? Probably not. Does that mean that limited is going to be best of 3? Probably not. What they've said is constructed best of 3.
Yeah, I say not yet.
Mm-hmm.
So they're adding things in slowly. We're going to have best of 3 standard and best of 1 standard. How the 2 rankings go alongside
I'm going to compare. No one actually knows yet.
Are they going to be on the same
track?
Ladder?
Yeah, or are you going to get
I assume
now?
They have to be.
I kind of feel like they would be, yeah. but it's I kind of feel like what we're going to get is something like a scaling system where it's like, oh, okay, so you managed to win 3 matches in best of 3. You don't just get the 3 pips for your win, you get a little bonus as well. You get just 1 extra. It's not, oh, a best of 3 win counts for 2 pips.
No, I wouldn't be surprised
if it did.
Best of 3 is basically, in the same way that if you
win 2 games,
if you're playing a best of 3 match on the
tournament
constructed event, you get 2 game rewards when you win 2-1.
Yeah.
So 2 wins. I think it's going to be the same. You'll get basically, if you win 2-1, you get 2 wins and a loss.
Yeah.
Wherever that takes you on the ladder. If you win 2-0, you get 2 wins and no losses.
Okay. That'd be.
I suspect it will still track number of games. Just you can play them as best of 3 or play them as best of 1.
I don't think that's the worst. Obviously, that is going to reward more heavily best of 1 play, because obviously if you go, well, I've just spent half an hour playing a best of 3 and I still only got 1 pip. But even then, actually, I take that back. I don't think it will, because the decks that do well in best of 3, you're still just going to be going, well, it's a deck that wants to play best of 3, so I'm going to play best of 3.
So if you look at that best of 3 was 2 wins and a loss, it's the same as if you play best of 1 and you get 2 wins and a loss.
Yeah, exactly.
Just you spend the same amount of time on it, you'll have just played 1 person instead of 3.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I would hope that's how they're going to do it. They may have found a better way. Who knows?
They keep surprising me, Arena.
Frankly, with considering how Wizards have generally been with stuff, yes, they keep surprising me too.
Yeah, it's like Wizards, normally terrible at communicating and all of the other problems that we've all already noted. Arena, surprisingly not bad at doing what he normally doesn't. So yeah, I keep being impressed. And then obviously the last piece of news on MTGA was that the set is being released on January the 17th, and it will be basically the full release will happen on January the 17th. You can draft, sealed and constructed with any of the cards that you open from this set. You'll be able to buy the packs, you'll be able to buy all of the gear for it. That's what you're getting.
I think draft is starting on the 18th.
Yes. Sealed available on the 17th, and on the 18th, our traditional draft event will switch to Ravnica Allegiance. You are correct.
Yeah, so in other words, just because the draft changes over every week, or however long it is. And also, there's an event on the Wednesday, if you'd be listening to this earlier than we put it out.
Yeah, if you are a time-travelling wizard, or maybe you just want to go back and watch the VODs, I don't know. There will be a streamer event with the new sets. Basically, Wizards is handing something like 370 streamers fully decked out accounts with which to build any decks and play. I believe it will only be best of 1 standard, because obviously there'll only be 370 people able to play in this.
And also that's it. They want lots of games happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say yes. Okay, you can't watch it live when you're listening to this when it comes out, but yeah, do go and watch the VODs if you're a standard player and you want to know what might do well in the new set in new standard. Go and watch as many of those streams back as you can.
Yes. And I mean, not to be too plug heavy here, but also come watch me. I'll be streaming basically all of Thursday with the new sets, and probably all of Friday as well. And then on Sunday I've got a streamer event. So
Jack,
we'll talk about that
Standard
later.
Intelligence podcast, and you have a Standard Intelligence stream. I think you're allowed to plug it on your own podcast.
You're probably not wrong, Simeon. But we'll talk more about that sort of thing at the end of the show. But yes, watching the VODs, there's a bunch of creators out there. If you follow either myself or Simeon on Twitter, we will be surely pointing out some of our favourites that are on the list.
I will try to do that. Yeah, that's something I need to get better at doing on Twitter.
Yeah, it's something I need to get better at doing as well, pointing to people towards the content creators that I enjoy watching. So yeah. Right then, I think that's all of the MTGA news.
Yeah, we'll lower our excitement level now for a bit.
Yes, so there was, we basically had a story last week where we were talking about the payouts at a PPTQ. This was at Travelling Man in Manchester. We'd had reports of a kind of abysmal sounding payout structure. The second place player came away with 3 packs and a treasure chest, and it worked out to be for £18, one booster got put into the prize pool, which, yeah, that probably is as awful as it sounds. But we have heard from a tournament at the event who basically said, while you were factually correct, there was a mitigating circumstance that you should consider that you didn't mention. And that is the tournament organisers had to rent the space. And that will obviously eat into any prize funds going forward. And while I'm not, 100% on how much that should cost, etc., that will eat quite a large chunk of what you could have given your player bases. The only thing I will say is just tell your players, like, you're dealing with a bunch of people who do expected value calculations on the fly as part of their hobby. Just let them know, We mostly understand when you go, well, it was either this kind of low payout or we don't do an event. Yeah. Most players will tend to go, okay, we'll have the event. Just
because the main prize is the winning the RPTQ anyway.
Exactly. To basically everyone that goes to PPTQs or went to PPTQs now that they're over. The RPTQ was the reason we went. It wasn't necessarily for the prize payouts. They were to make us feel better when we didn't get what we actually came for. So I will, we definitely said last week, look, we don't know everything. And now that we've gotten a little bit more information, it does make a lot more sense. But some clarity would have been very nice from the TO at the time. And I think that's all we can take away from this at the moment.
We can also say, be aware of what prize payouts might be at whatever type of event we get next, because it's almost certain places will have to rent out venues.
Especially if they're as large as PTQs were. This is something we're going to have to be very cognizant of going forward. If they're as large as PTQs used to be, spaces will have to be rented, which
admittedly, if you had this PPTQ did not have 90 players.
No, exactly.
Or 120 players.
And if you have that number, then obviously your prize structure is going to look a lot better.
Frankly, if you have 100 players, even if it is only one booster into the prize pool per player, if you then only pay the top 8...
The top 8 is going to be... Yeah, no one's going to notice.
That together.
No. Yeah, you're like, the prize payout's only for the top 8, and the top 8 are going, well, we still got a decent payout for today, and we only had to pay, £15. If that's the way you want to run it, low entry, low payout, that's fine. Or you can go, okay, well, it's going to be a bit more expensive, but there's going to be some serious prizes on the line.
We'll see what happens.
Absolutely.
We still don't know. As soon as we know something, we'll get talking about it.
As soon as Wizards tell us about our future plans for qualifying for these Mythic Championships,
However,
we'll let you know. Right, okay, so we had happy good times. Let's go on. We've actually got some PPTQ results to talk about. Our last set of PPTQ results.
Our final ever set.
Yeah.
Until Wizards change their mind again.
And obviously. We get PPTQs back.
We have our possibly last ever PPTQ results, this time from Beanie Games.
Yes, so thank you very much to Beanie Games for sending them through to us. Unfortunately, we got them just after we'd recorded last week, so we couldn't actually get them on. So we're giving them to you now. Simeon, do you want to run us through these lists quickly, please?
Our winner was Mono White Aggro. So the one of the decks from the Pro Tour.
Mm-hmm. Was it playing the Heroic Reinforcements?
It was the Heroic Reinforcements deck, with that being the only red in the main board, with some Aurelias and a Banefire in the side. And then the runner-up was our trusty friend Golgari Midrange.
Whoop!
Semi-finals were essentially the same two decks again, Mono White Aggro and Golgari Midrange.
Yeah, that's really interesting, the two pair going on there.
I wonder if they were semi-finals that were...
mirror matches or cross matches,
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd expect mirrors because of how the final ended up. But, the two Golgari decks are quite different to each other. The semi-final Golgari deck is a much more Planeswalker-heavy deck than the finalist.
Which is actually kind of interesting, because mostly I tend to assume that the Planeswalker Golgari mid-range deck is going to have a better time against the non-Planeswalker versions, but it does.
But a worse time against Mono White?
That's possible. That is very much possible. So I'm just looking at the runner-up version, and 3 Carnage Tyrants, 1 Karn, and 2 Vivian Reeds compared to the quarter-finalist version.
Semi-finalist.
Sorry. The 2 Doom Whisperers, 2 Carnage Tyrants, 1 Vivian Reed, 2 Vraska Relic Seeker, 2 Vraska Golgari Queen. My money would normally be on that semi-finalist Golgari list in the mirror.
Yeah, I think I agree there.
Just because of the number of Planeswalkers. Although it has to be said, Carnage Tyrant is way more important than Vraska, well, either Vraskas. So, you know, if the runner-up deck here had hit its Carnage Tyrants and then got to use Find Finality to just keep getting them back,
yeah,
that's actually they shorten the game, and at that point the fact that you can, you know, get a Vivian Reed or a Vraska online matters a heck of a lot less. So it kind of depends. Can the runner-up list find the dinosaurs, the big stupid dinosaurs, and keep recurring them enough times? Or can the semi-finalist get its Planeswalkers down and protect them long enough? I'm just noting here that the other thing that I'll say for the runner-up list that I think is really important. The semi-finalist list that the runner-up list doesn't do, and that is Detection Tower in the main.
Yeah,
that card has been completely insane for me. It's only a couple of times been a stumbling block for us over having, you know, another forest or something. And it normally is just having a forest would be the only thing I'd ever swap it out for. But the ability to just go, well, actually, this card beats Dive Down and it beats Carnage Tyrant almost single-handedly is well worth the include there. So I think, realistically, I think I actually prefer this semi-finalist list rather than the runner-up list. Like if I was
been playing Golgari.
If I was going to run this into a Golgari mirror, I'd be going, yeah, this one. This one seems way more likely to be able to find the pieces it needs.
And running them against the aggro, either the white or the red aggro.
Both of them are running 4 Wild Growth Walkers in the main and then 10 Explorers, so either.
Okay.
I know that sounds like really
that's fine.
Reductionist. But
that's the main.
That is the key point.
Anti-aggro stuff is your Wild Growth Walkers and Explorers.
Yeah.
They've both got the same there. In the quarterfinals, we had an Is It Phoenix deck? Something that seems to have disappeared a bit off Arena. The Phoenix build of that deck.
Yeah, the Phoenixes have dropped out of favour. We're still seeing a ton of 8 Drake, but the Phoenix has really fallen out of favour recently. I'm not 100% on why. Maybe it's just, you know, in the late game,
not so good best of 1 deck.
I mean,
as the 8
maybe that is exactly what it is. Like the 8 Drake is just better best of 1 for whatever reason.
Then we also saw a Boros aggro. This most definitely is not mono white because it has Boros Challenger
and Legion War Bosses in the main.
Legion War Boss. Yeah. And then also with 2 Divine Visitation. Just for funsies.
Oh yeah, I've played against these sorts of lists, and I'm sat there and I've gone, I don't like what you're doing here, but you're crushing me with it, so I guess I'm just gonna die.
But when it goes off, it kills you.
Yeah, Legion Warboss and Divine Visitation. You know that angel still has haste, right?
Yep.
It's very annoying.
And then also we have Jeskai Drakes with 2 Niv Mizzet and a Dimir Control, a deck I do see a lot of online.
Absolutely.
I didn't see before.
I think because there was so much white aggro going around, especially like gold to platinum, the Ritual of Soots have just become so ridiculously powerful.
And I wouldn't be surprised. We've got 3 white aggro decks in this top 8. If there were another couple in the field, there was only an 19
person field, yeah.
Another 1 or 2 white decks, Dimir Control looks like a really good call.
Yeah, exactly. The more the white decks have, and indeed the Boros decks have been coming up, the more I like Dimir Control, I will say. Your general win conditions of Dream Eater and or Doom Whisperer look really good against those decks.
This one, literally 2 Dream Eater in the main.
Yeah.
And then in the side, a couple of Blood Operatives and a Murmuring Mystic and 4 Thief of Sanities. Thief of Sanity is horrific. horrific.
It's so good in the sideboards because people take out all of their removal and you just go, well, here's my free drop.
You have to know that a blue-black deck is going to bring that in. For where it's good, obviously, they don't bring it against everybody. But
I will say that they're also running 3 Planeswalkers in the main deck. They're running Tezzeret Artifice Master because their other 2 Planeswalkers are Khans, which means obviously they work quite nicely together.
Yeah, good pairing.
The other thing that I will say is that the decks, like what I've seen of it, the deck's primary way of actually winning the game is killing all your stuff and then playing an Eldritch Reborn and stealing your best creature and or Planeswalker.
And killing you with
killing you with what you were going to do.
Yeah, they are 3 Eldritch Reborns. That's definitely a plan too.
Yeah.
So that is our last top 8.
Yes.
For the moment.
Yes. We will obviously be attempting to do this with whatever system comes up next. We will be talking with TOs and... we'll be talking with TOs and we'll be trying to get you folks the information when we know what it is we're dealing with. As it stands, of course, we will be looking at other events coming up. So if you've got any winner boxes in your local area, do give the TOs a shout and tell them to poke us, and we will happily tell people about the events and then share the results on the podcast. We want to keep you informed about what the UK metagame looks like as we go forward into this brave new world we have created for ourselves. If you've got a TO and they're doing a winner box, do get them to give us a shout. We'd love to hear from them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that, I think we're going to head into this week's deep dive. So this week, we have a bit of an interesting task. I have enrolled myself in an open MTGA tournament that takes place on release weekend. So I'm going to be being streamed over on WinCon TV. I will drop the Twitch link for that in the show's description. So do come and watch on Saturday. I think it starts about 6 p.m. UK time. So I'm kind of expecting the Swiss portion to end at around midnight because it's going to be a 6-round Swiss. And then probably actually a little bit after because obviously we're going to have to, get pairings sorted and that sort of thing in between rounds. And then there is a top 8 and winner takes home $100, second place takes home $50, and there's 0 entry fee. So it's all for fun and games. But this does put me in a very odd position of needing a standard deck basically on pre-release weekend. This is not something I've normally had to contend with. Normally I get to have a lot more time waiting for deck designers that I like and respect to come out with these ideas, and I get to sit down and go, okay, which is the most of my playstyle that I get to fiddle around with? And don't get to do that this time.
Fine. Okay, so let's start with me taking through each of the new guilds.
Yep.
And where we think those are going to go into standard, if they're going to go into standard at all.
Yeah.
Should we start with white blue? Start with Azorius?
Yes.
What is it going to be any different to the current Teferi deck?
See, this is it. I kind of feel like Azorius is mostly going to stay in this control role. Now, there is obviously a Thopter minor sub-theme in Ravnica Allegiance. I don't think we're going to see that encroach into standard too much.
It's also, Azorius in Allegiance is much more a tempo deck than it is a control deck from what I can see.
Yes, but you could build a tempo deck in blue-white. I just don't think that there's enough other powerful cards around it to make that shell worthwhile.
Yeah, and you could in theory build a blue-white flyers low to the ground deck, but that's the mono-blue. Currently.
Yeah, why would you mess with your mana base when you're already running fairly thin margins on the mono blue mana base?
There's 1 or 2 cards that might be worth adding it. I mean, firstly, I guess the question is there any chance of you playing a mono blue style deck?
No, not really. I dislike the inherent failure rate in those decks.
So it's probably not worth a look into things like Dovin Security might be worth putting in a blue-white into the mono-blue deck, but and Absorb and things like that. But yeah, if you're not going to go blue, let's not worry about that too much. Okay, let's move off.
But it's definitely worth considering what other people might do. But
yeah, true. Yeah, obviously it's a possibility for what you're going to be facing.
But I think if I see someone go Hallowed Fountain into Glacial Fortress, I'm expecting a control deck.
I agree entirely. What guilds do you want to try next?
We should stick with one of the colours. So
let's stick with blue and go to Simic.
Okay, so Simic has a couple of really interesting ways that they could go. Obviously, we've still got Merfolk in the format, and Merfolk have looked surprisingly good in the Best of One leagues, because obviously they're a fairly linear deck that Best of One does help represent. But they're picking up a bunch of relatively powerful things here. I just don't think it's picking up enough to make them much more than they already are. You know, it's only a couple of cards that would go into a Merfolk deck. I think what we're far more likely to see is a not necessarily a tempo style deck, but sort of like a ramping deck.
A counters deck?
Yes, that kind of thing. So I'm expecting to see cards along the lines of, hold on, I'm trying to grab the specific cards, because the cards that I'm thinking of are Growth Chamber Guardian, which I think is an excellent magic card in general, and if you pair it with a Hadana's Climb, you know, you're actually basically just dealing with a Squadron Hawk. At that point, it's a bigger ground Squad Hawk, and that's all you've got. But you could also use Incubation Druid. Now, I'm not as hot on this card as a lot of other people seem to be, but it does lend itself to some very explosive draws in the right deck. So I was actually just watching a Bant version of this counters deck, where Incubation Druid on turn 2 led to an Ajani on turn 4, I think. And then that led to like a 6/6 Hydroid Krasis on turn 5.
Yeah. You don't mean a 4-mana Ajani. Do you mean 6-mana Ajani?
No, I mean 4-mana Ajani that puts +1/+1 counters on
putting
things.
A counter on it, and so therefore it has a counter on.
Exactly.
So it taps for 3 mana.
Yeah. So I think it might have actually been it was a very large Hydroid Krasis very quickly, and that's another card that I think is going to see a lot of play. The other key cards in this colour pair are Frilled Mystic and Growth Spiral. Those are two that I'm going to have to look out for. So I don't necessarily know if I want to play this deck. It's definitely something that's on my radar, because I think the sort of explosive draws that you can have with a deck like this, backed up by Hydroid Krasis to refill your hand. Because obviously, you'll know, Simeon, that the decks where you just go dump a bunch of stuff on the battlefield to ramp up to a big thing, here's my big thing, and your opponent goes, kill your big thing. You're a little bit out of luck at that point. But what you really want is something that goes, actually, I'm just going to draw a bunch of cards, if that's okay.
What about Green-White Elves?
So green-white elves. Do you think there's enough elves to make a tribal deck work?
Well, Elvish Clan Caller is still there.
Yeah.
And Beast Whisperer. There's some card draw.
Yeah.
Growth Chamber Guardian. Steel Leaf. Thorn Lieutenant. Pelt Collector.
These are all elves.
You've got some strong elves. Now, whether just having Elvish Clan Caller is enough, but you've got Vanquisher's Banner as a tribal.
We're in white. Why don't we just use Radiant Destiny?
Yeah, and Radiant Destiny. So you could have 12 pumps, 12 tribal pumps.
Yeah, I don't think you'd play
You wouldn't play 4 Vanquisher's Banner. You probably wouldn't play any Vanquisher's Banner. But that's 8 pumps with the Elvish Clan Caller.
And that's definitely something worth considering.
And you can probably put a Hydroid Krasis on without hurting your mana too much. Because then you've got Marwyn as a way of adding a huge chunk of mana in one go. You've got what's the land?
So there's actually a really interesting one where you get where you can go Incubation Druid, and if you can put a +1/+1 counter on it while you've got out an Unclaimed Territory, you can make all colours of mana. Because obviously Unclaimed Territory does make all colours of mana. It just technically normally only makes it for one type of creature.
You've got Growing White Spit the Mock and Song of Prerelease as way of getting a load of mana as well. So X spells are pretty good with this.
Alright, that's an interesting... it's sort of like green-white elves splash blue for Hydroid Krasis.
And in fact, I'm looking and going, you don't need the white.
No, I was wondering why we would bother with the white.
I looked at green-white because that's where the elves were going to be.
And that's where you get a bunch of the pump as well, the go wide pump.
Yes, you would need the white for the...
But you could just go, here's a bunch of elves, I'm splashing blue for only Hadana's Climb and Hydroid Krasis.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's definitely interesting.
And
obviously you
white
get to...
just for the pump, just for the...
I don't even know. I don't even know if I'd bother at that point. I might just go green blue elves rather.
Oh, green blue elves. Let me just check and make sure that I don't think there are any elves in blue. Are there?
No, there aren't. But it means that your mana constraints become a lot less, and that means that things like Still Leaf Champion become, far more likely to be castable.
Oh, you say there's no elves in blue. Frilled Mystic is in blue, and
of course it is, and is an elf.
Vanifar is in blue.
Oh, of course she is.
And Skyrider Patrol.
That could work. Okay.
And then, of course, you get access to counter spells in the sideboard if you're in blue.
Yes, I mean that's very interesting to me. I'm not hyped on Sky Prime Speaker Vanifar.
No, probably not. You need to really look at how the deck goes together for that.
Yeah, I think Prime Speaker Vanifar works in like a toolbox deck, and I definitely think there's some sort of, I think it's Sultai toolbox deck where you're like, okay, well here's a bunch of rubbishy creatures
that turn into better creatures, that turn into better creatures, that turn into amazing creatures. You're dead. Yeah,
exactly. You go something along the lines of, here's my Dust Legion Zealot, sacrifice it, I'm going to go and get a Midnight Reaper, and I can only sacrifice it. I'll sacrifice it, and I'll draw a card, and I'll get a Ravenous Chupacabra, kill your thing, sacrifice it. Yeah. I'm going to go and get a Doom Whisperer. I can now scry through my entire deck and find anything else that I might need, that kind of thing.
So there are some possibilities in Simic. Simic has a lot of different ways it can go.
Simic's really interesting to me, but I'm a little bit concerned about trying to put together a list. I'm going to be spending Thursday basically just throwing lists together and going, does this work? Does this work? I don't know. But yeah, Simic has got a ton of things in it that I find so interesting to try and build with, that I'm really hyped for Simic in Standard this season.
It sounds like there's going to be a number of cards on our top 10 list from that guild that we'll be talking about.
You ain't necessarily wrong, mate.
Talking of fun guilds, Gruul Smash, come on.
Gruul Smash, yes. Look, as soon as the Spellbreaker was spoiled, I was like, oh, hello there. That seems rather good against your stupid settle the wreckages and your nonsense removal spells. That seems good for me. The fact that they then went and spoiled Call of the Wild,
Rhythm of the Wild.
Rhythm of the Wild, that's it. The enchantment that makes all of your creatures uncounterable and gives them all Riot. So if they've got Riot already, they get double Riot.
Yeah.
And as was pointed out on the pre-release, that means double haste. So powerful.
Powerful spells, double haste. Almost as good as double flying.
Double flying, such a solid thing to have on a creature. Even flies over the reach creatures. That is not how that works.
Nope.
And I know that is not how that works.
Unless we're playing an unset, and then double haste
and then it might.
A point as well.
Yeah.
I play this card and it hits you before I even play this card.
Oh yeah, the super haste from one of the older unsets. Yeah. So the point with Gruul is I think there's a bunch of tools here. Ravager Worm looks really good.
Yeah.
If you can have a Rhythm of the Wild out and give it +1/+1 counter and haste and blow up a creature,
or
just like
destroy an Azcanta.
Destroy an Azcanta. It can't be countered. It has haste and it's a 5/6. That is a thing that your opponent has to go, whoa, what just happened? Even if it's just coming down and going +1/+1 counter fights your Lyra.
Oh, quite.
Yeah. I'm just going to blow up your stupid angel.
You can see a lot of cards that Ravager Worm is good against.
Exactly. The problem is, obviously, it's 6 mana.
Okay, so you want to be ramping. So, hello, Domri.
Well, I mean, yeah, Domri looks really good, as does Rhythm of the World, but I don't necessarily think I want to play them both in the same deck.
I think I do.
I mean, my problem with that is Domri needs something like 26 to 28 creatures in the deck to hit 2 creatures something like 75% of the time. Frank Carsten did all the maths.
I'm not sure you need to hit 2 creatures with Domri all the time. You need to hit 1.
Yeah.
You need to hit something. I also don't think you're spending most of your time doing that with him.
You think he's ramping a lot more than I'm giving him credit for?
Adding a mana, giving a creature riot, getting to the -8.
I mean,
that's
obviously
3 turns. 3 turns with a Planeswalker is not... Someone doesn't have long to answer that.
No, you aren't wrong.
And yes, okay, if you're like, Domri's your top deck and you've got nothing on the board, play -3, I hope to hit 2 creatures.
Yeah.
Maybe I only need to do that 60% of the time to be good enough. Although I understand what you mean. And we'll talk more, perhaps, about the maths of that next week.
Next week, when we're discussing one or either of these cards, yeah.
But
but you are in green. You get a bunch of ramp spells. You've got Llanowells, you've got Druid of the Cows. Like, there's no way that I'm not having Llanowells in my green creature deck.
Yeah, quite. You've got the new 2 mana Dork.
Okay, which one?
The one that gives you 3 mana when you've got something on it.
Got a counter on it. Yeah, and again, that works real nice if you can give it Riot.
If I could find the thing.
Incubation Druid.
That's her.
Yeah. An 0-2 normally with Adapt 3 for 5, free green. And then, yeah, you add 1 mana of any colour a land can produce. And then if the Incubation Druid has a +1/+1 counter or more on it, add 3 mana of that type instead.
Yeah.
We were just mentioning this in the Simic one, but I realised that we hadn't actually read it out. And yeah, if you can give that Riot, if you can give it double Riot by having both Domri and a Rhythm out.
Then it's, I'll play this, make a 1/3.
And I'm actually equal on mana. Like, I'm actually up mana by 1. Because I've put a +1/+1 counter on it and given it haste.
And
tap it to generate
one
3.
Of its mana I took from Domri.
Yeah.
So I spent 1 mana to make that, and it turns for 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, seems real good.
Nice combo. That we do live in magical Christmas.
And again, I look at this deck and I go, I could really do with a Hydroid Crisis.
I don't think you need the XX.
No, I
here.
don't think you do.
You've got Nullhide Ferox. You've got the dinosaur stupid thing. Well, you got all the dinosaurs.
Well, you've got Golter is the one you're thinking of.
No,
yes.
no,
not
I'm thinking of
the 12/12 with
one
trample.
The 6/6 with trample. 7/6 with trample. Sorry.
Oh, Implacable Death Lizard, Carnage
him.
Tyrant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How was that not in my head? I don't know. Implacable Death Lizard. You've got the double red spells as well. I don't know whether you want double red spells.
I think you're going to be mostly green going into red slightly here.
But if you are in red, you've got the new dragon, the Skargan Hellkite.
Oh, that looks really good. I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Skargan Hellkite.
You've got
I think that's an
Phoenix still.
Card. Yeah, you do. You could definitely build that. You've got the new Thrash Fret, which I quite like. Against another creature deck, it can be a removal spell. Against a control deck, it's
another creature.
Not a dead card. Yeah, it's a bit overcosted, but it's not a dead card anymore.
It's a 4/4 for 4 still.
Yeah, but like in terms of standard playable spells, that is not a standard playable spell.
4/4.
Purely a 4/4 for 4, you would not play.
A 4/4 for 4 with trample.
With trample, no. You're never playing that in.
Pump it, I guess. You've got Vine Mare.
Yeah, you do. You do have a bunch of hexproof. Now, we're getting a lot of edict effects. Like, there's a lot of ways of dealing with hexproof in this set. So. But
equally, if you're playing this deck, you have more than one creature out.
Yep, absolutely you do.
Yeah, you are right. Maybe you do need some card draw. Beast Whisperer is still card draw.
You're not wrong, actually. That's a pretty good one. And then, obviously, Domri Raid is meant to be creature draw.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No,
I think
I'm more on board with this than I am with the idea of a Azorius deck, and I think I'm even more on board with this week one than a Simic deck because I ain't gonna have a clue how to build a Simic deck.
It's very much a linear. I get the best 2-drop, best 3-drop, best 4-drop, the best 5-drop, the best 6-drop, and maybe more than one of each of those, and I put them all in a deck, and I basically go, I'm going to hit you with my creatures.
Yes, and my sideboard is for when that doesn't work.
Yeah.
The sideboard will be, spells that deal damage to a wide board and spells that beat counter spells, preferably. But as you say, I can play Carnage Tyrant main, so...
well, and then the Spellbreaker might be sideboard card.
It's possible, but I kind of feel like...
Yeah, I can't see Rhythm of the Wild ever being a sideboard card.
Actually, I was to say I can see Rhythm of the Wild being the sideboard card over Spellbreaker, because in most matchups you don't want to take turn 3 off. Against Control, it is perfectly fine to take turn 3 off.
Yeah.
That's where my brain goes for this. Against most decks, you want to be the one pushing damage through. You're the one setting the pace. You're the one going, here's the rhythm of this game. And then against Control, you go, okay, you're going to have removal spells now, because none of my creatures
none of
can
your
be countered.
counters work, and you haven't played it game 1, so hopefully they've kept all their counters in.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't think Krul does anything else apart from Smash. There's no other weird type build we could go for with.
It gets thrown with other decks and gets to do other things. You could put it together with black and go, okay, well, this is a Jund X. It can be value, it can be sacrifice.
Yeah, I wasn't going to talk about 3-colour stuff yet.
But I think green-red, it's got one plan.
So, what about Rakdos?
Rakdos is interesting. So again, there feels like there's sort of maybe 2 ways to build this. There's I'm still mostly just a red aggro deck, but now I've got Judith in my deck, and maybe a couple of other, little things that you can get. Where's the split spell that I'm thinking of? Bedazzle? No, Carnival and Carnage.
Carnival Carnage.
Yes.
Deal 1 or deal 3.
Deal 1 or deal 3, and then they discard 2.
Yeah.
So either a method of turning on any of your other spectacle cards, or a mind drop mixed with a lightning bolt. That seems not terrible in the mid-rangey fights. You can totally go that way and just be like, okay, I'm mostly a red deck. I've got a little bit of a black splash in here to give me a little bit of extra oomph. I have watched games with Judith and what's his name, Legion Warboss, and it looks nuts.
That's quite hard.
Because I think so. This is the sort of deck that makes the best use of Judith's first line of text. So for those of you who may not have seen her, Judith, the Scourge Diva, which is an objectively awesome name, by the way. 1 black red for a 2/2 legendary creature human shaman. Other creatures you control get +1/+0. Cool. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, Judith the Scourge Diva deals 1 damage to any target. So obviously her first line of text works really nicely on a nice wide board, which tends to happen with tokens. Whereas her second line of text, because it doesn't work with tokens, you're going to need to keep pumping real creatures into this. I think this red aggro version works really nicely with that first line of text. And the second line of text is just a nice little upside occasionally. Or there's a version that goes, I'm going to sacrifice a bunch of things for value and mostly damage.
I think
Judith,
that's hard to build week 1.
Yes, that's same here, because I don't know necessarily how you're going to have to build it. I think that gets Judith, that gets Fireblade Artists, and that gets Priest of Forgotten Gods. And Priest of Forgotten Gods looks so good.
Did you see it working in the pre-release with the white 2-drop?
Aaron Campbell got it to go off with
Hero of Precinct 1.
Hero of Precinct 1, and that's actually a deck that who was it suggested that earlier? It might have been Dylan Donegan from the SCG tour. Was like, here's a couple of deck lists that I think use Priests of Forgotten Gods, and he was like, yeah, you take this and you take Hero Precinct 1, and then every other spell in your deck is multicolored. And you're just generating a bunch of 1/1s that you're sacrificing to the priest, drawing extra cards, which are hopefully spells that can then make you more 1/1s, and so on and so forth. And that was actually an Abzan deck, but yes, this sort of thing can totally work. And then obviously Priest of Forgotten Gods also works really nicely with what's the black spell that gets creatures back from your graveyard with CMC 1, 2, and then 3? Gruesome Menagerie.
Yes.
Yeah. So obviously, okay, so those of you who haven't seen it yet, Priest of Forgotten Gods is 1 and a black for a 1/2 human cleric. A bit underwhelming, but tap, sacrifice 2 other creatures. That is the cost. Add any number of target players each lose, so you could do it to yourself as well, but in a 1v1 game it's mostly just your opponent, but it's worded so that you can do it in, commander games and such. But each lose 2 life and sacrifice a creature. You add black and draw a card.
I want to see the game where Priest of Forgotten Gods targeting you and your opponent, you sacrifice another creature so that your opponent takes 3 because you had Judith out and they lose.
Exactly. There are going to be corner cases like that all the time in this sort of deck. And as soon as you've got Gruesome Menagerie in there, now that only costs 3 because you've just generated black off of Priest of Forgotten Gods, and you get to go, well, I'm going to get back my
these 2 creatures I sacked and another one.
Yeah, I'm going to get back my Fanatical Firebrand, I'm going to get back my Dust Legion Zealot, and I'm going to get back my Judith. Go. Like, that's a heck of a turn. That is a heck of a turn. So, yeah, there's definitely something there with the sacrifice theme, and I want to build that. I think that's going to be a lot of what my work on Thursday is going to be. It's like getting Priest of Forgotten Gods and maybe Judith to work alongside each other.
I think it depends on whether you're going for lots of tokens or lots of creatures you get back with Menagerie.
Exactly. I think that's the split between that deck. There's also another, I'm going to keep calling it an aristocrat style effect in this format. I can't remember what it's called.
It was a
2/3.
Yeah, a black 2/3, isn't it? Let me
yes.
find it. Vindictive Vampire.
There we go. That's the one.
Whenever another creature you control dies, Vindictive Vampire deals 1 damage to each opponent. You gain 1 life. 3 and a black for a 2/3.
Yes. Which is basically the same text as on Poison Tip Archer, except it doesn't have reach, but it also costs 1 generic instead of 1 green.
And you don't want to put green in this deck, do you?
Well, this is it. Again, there's some 3-color decks that you could totally make work with this.
That is the thing we have with having all 10 of the guilds.
All 10 shocklands and all 10 checklands. Yeah.
We can now make 3-color mana bases very easily.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't remember from M19, Poison Tip Archer was 2 black-green for a 2/3 elf archer. There's another elf, Simeon.
It is.
With reach and death touch. Actually, no, sorry. Its text is actually nowhere near the same. Sorry. It's whenever another creature dies, so any creature, each opponent loses 2 life. So if you have this out and you use the Priest of Forgotten Gods, your opponent's actually taking 5 at least. Yeah, right? Yeah, that could get really gross. But the problem with this deck, and this is a problem that I have with all of the decks that I try and build out of this set of synergies, is as soon as your opponent interacts with you, it all falls apart very quickly.
Okay, so do you want the deck that partly interacts and partly kills someone with weird stuff? Do you want to build the Punisher deck? Is there anything in here that helps the Punisher deck?
I don't think there's anything in here that particularly helps the Punisher deck. I mean, the lightning bolt, skewer the critics, does obviously help.
Yeah, as a potential replacement for Wizard's Lightning, and then means you don't have to worry about playing wizards.
Yeah, I think you'd take out the 1-drop wizard, the 1/2.
Yeah,
I forget its name.
Yeah.
You would leave in the Vioshino Pyromancer.
Yeah, just because it's dealing 2.
Because it deals 2 as soon as it comes down, which obviously activates Spectacle.
And you want to find another 1-drop essentially that I guess you might replace the 1/2 whose name has also gone out of my head again. Begins with a G, but apart from that, I'm stuck.
G2 Lava
That's
Runner.
Her.
We're done with the G.
Replace it with the Mixed Mighty Reveler as some card draw.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. That you could go that way with it. Yeah, no, I can totally see
Which
that.
I have heard say Rick's Mighty Reveler is if you have an empty hand and you play it for its 1 and a red,
Yep.
you do draw a card.
Yeah, you do draw a card, yes. Yeah. So, seems pretty good, and could definitely be a thing. So yeah, this is again a colour pair that I'd be very interested in trying a bunch of different things.
And then finally for the guilds, we have Orzhov.
Now, Orzhov itself, I actually don't see doing a super like doing a lot in constructive. I don't see pure white-black decks moving away from being vampire decks from Ixalan.
Were there any new vampires?
I don't. A couple, actually. You're right, there were a couple that might see play.
Let me just have a check for.
I mean,
new
Vindictive
vampires.
Vampire to start with. I mean, the other thing to note in black is Pestilent Spirit, which would make red removal spells kill anything.
Yes.
Which could be very good, could be very useful. You know, shock, kill your
5/5.
Niv Mizzet or something, yeah, is pretty handy. The other black card that I actually am really interested in is Font of Agonies.
Really? The thing where you pay
Yeah.
if you've paid life, put some counters on it.
Yeah.
What are you pairing it with?
What was I thinking of? So there's the fairly obvious ones with
There's
Doom Whisperer.
Doom Whisperer, yes.
You've got Doom Whisperer, you've got the 1/1 that attacks as a 3/1, you can give it
Yeah,
indestructible.
the Adanto Vanguard, yeah.
Adanto Vanguard. So those are two that work quite nicely with it. Torgar can be made to work because you can make yourself effectively pay 10 life, and I'm pretty certain that works.
I have to look at the wording on Torgar, but I imagine you're correct.
And then it's just a repeatable removal spell, right? That's the point of Font of Agonies. The first time I read it, I was like, oh, it sacrifices itself. Well, that's just awful. That's just like a bad murder. Why would you do that? And then I reread it and was like, oh, no, wait. It just keeps sitting on the battlefield, blowing away creatures.
And yes.
So
yes, you can
maybe you can make that work in like a black-white life gain deck.
You
with
can make yourself
paying.
take lots of life from Torgar.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you've gained lots of life, you can lose it all and
put a bunch of
put a
counters on
massive
Font of
number of counters
Agonies.
on it, but that seems
Yeah.
rather dangerous.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But against certain decks, you can totally do that. Against green-black, you go, actually, I've played this Torgar for 2 mana because I made it cheaper by sacrificing a bunch of my creatures that have Afterlife and or my Afterlife tokens. And then I'd gained like 10 life, so I'm going to pay 20 and go to 10. And now I've got this Font of Agonies with 20 counters on it, blow away 5 of your creatures.
Kill all your things, yeah.
And my Torgar's bigger than your stupid Carnage Tyrant, so you're never getting through to kill me. You'd be totally fine to do that against green
It
black.
would be so fun if it worked.
Yeah. But I don't necessarily think it will. It's just one of those things where you sort of have to... You have to keep looking at these potential interactions and going, okay, if I did this weird thing, is it powerful enough to warrant the level of setup that I'm putting out here? And I think in a lot of cases the answer is going to be no.
Can you do enough in Orzhov to make Elenda work?
Elenda the Dusk Rose. Now that was actually something else that I was really thinking of, especially with the new black-white Taser, Karlov.
Yeah, Taser.
Because obviously she means that you get extra counters on your Elenda.
Yeah, so every time something dies, you get 2 counters on Elenda, and then when
Elenda dies, you get double the number of
you get two life-thinking vampires for every counter that's on Elenda.
Well, no, for every power she also makes one.
So for every power she has. So every time you put those 2 counters on, they make 4 vampires. So for every creature dying and then Elenda dying, you have 4
vampires.
1/1s.
Yeah. So that could totally work. But again, you've got this 2 creature setup with other stuff going on around it. So it might just be too hard to get these things together, especially in a world of Ravenous Chupacabra. Like, I don't expect Chupacabra to go anywhere. Chupacabra and Vrasten's Contempt, and we're picking up Bedevil,
Yeah,
and Mortify in this set.
we are.
And that's without having to go any deeper on any removal spells. I've just literally picked the top 4 removal spells in standard right now.
And we have a 4-mana Wrath.
And we've got a 4-mana Wrath in black-white. Yeah. So that was the other thing that I was going to say. What I actually think black-white is going to do is it's going to end up being a part of Esper, and Esper going to control is going to become a bigger thing.
With
My only problem is I don't know how it's going to win games
Teferi.
Apart from Teferi, because they don't have access to Niv Mizzet, and Niv Mizzet is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated and yet completely busted cards in current state.
I think whatever you decide to do, you have to be able to answer Niv Mizzet. Whatever deck you come up with, you have to be able to answer Go Wide White.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to answer Red.
Yes.
I mean,
I think
one of those three, you could go, I lose to it, whatever.
Yeah.
But and have something against Green Black.
Yeah.
Although Green Black's more of a, that depends on what they're doing, depends on what you need to do.
Yes. Yeah, so there's some really interesting things going on. So those are the 4 pillars that I kind of want to build around. A Niv Mizzet control deck, a Go Wide White deck, a mono red aggro deck, and then green black. And yeah, so out of the decks that we've just spent a little while discussing, so the Azorius I'm going nowhere near, but they would be a control deck, and that would be how they would be intending to do what they deal with all these things. I'm going to control the game. The next one was Simic, and in that instance you're going for a fairly combo-ish feel, and then going, here's a Hydrocrisis. And obviously against control you still get the card draw, which is something, and then post sideboard you get to pick up counter spells. Maybe you play Frilled Mystics as well as counter spells plus threats, but they might be a little bit too expensive. Into Gruul you've got against but Simic doesn't have a great deal against mono red or Go Wide White.
What Simic has there is making its things big enough that they stop the white and red things getting through.
Yeah, they stop the pressure by just being bigger.
And you put a 3/3 out, and white's a bit stuck if you can stick it.
Gruul is very similar against the aggro decks, but it gets to pick up Pyroclasm, which
is big there, I think.
I think that is fairly important.
And Gruul is going, I'm doing my thing. You have to stop me.
Yes, yeah, Gruul is meant to be the proactive deck. It isn't necessarily as fast as red or white, but it is still just putting threats on the battlefield and going, you need to deal with me right now.
And you're right, it probably loses game 1 to white and red quite a bit, but Pyroclasm makes a big difference.
Pyroclasm, and you get to add a bunch of red removal spells that line up really well against their other threats. So any of their big threats, you get to go, okay, well,
Lava
here's my
Coil
red removal
is,
spells.
and Lava Coil does seem to me like it's going to be a really big card in the format.
Lava Coil, Fight with Fire for any Lyras that might come out of sideboards in white decks. And Banefire against control decks.
Yeah, they all sound good. I mean, I would like Gruul, but there we go.
Yeah. The Rakdos lists, they're really hard to pass at the moment. I feel like against mid-range lists, the fact of Judith, as long as you can stick one, is going to mean that they're going to be very constrained on what it is they can actually, get to do. The problem is they can get round it by Vraska Contempt, Ravenous Chupacabra. They can just gain a bunch of life with Wildgrowth Walkers and get really out of range and still just have bigger creatures. And I don't see how black-red is beating like a green-black list at the moment.
Yeah, and I also
do sort of see how it's beating weird decks.
I don't see how it's beating white either, because white just gains the life and goes, go on then, you're going to
white gains so much life.
Going to give me 30 in the game? No. Oh well, you're going to die.
Yeah. So as much as I love Rakdos, and I will probably be trying to do something with them, I don't think that's where I can start, because I think I need someone who's a better deck builder to come along and say,
this is what you need to put together, and then you can tweak it. And
you
dismissed all sort of essentially as a 2-colour deck anyway.
Yes.
So do you have any 3-colour decks that help against those the 4 pillars of the format?
So, as I say, I really like the look of this Abzan list. I think it's going to have a little bit of trouble with control, which might be a bit of a problem in a a streamer challenge, because I think a lot of people might be picking up control, but maybe not.
Except,
but I think
control?
against. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. No one knows what it is they're meant to be fighting. Against mono red, you have a bunch of early drop creatures because that's just how your deck is built. It's got a load of chaff that you're going to sacrifice anyway. So you get to go, okay, well, this just goes under the bus, under the bus, under the bus. Oh, I found a removal spell. Cool. Like, kill your nonsense. Against go white wide, you've got both black and white for Wrath effects. You could go with, we've now got 2 infect style infest style board wipes in -2/-2s. We've still got the Ritual of Soot. We've still got Cleansing Nova,
and you've got Kaya's Wrath.
We're
so
now getting Kaya's Wrath.
So you mean you could essentially play 12 Wrath effects in black-white?
Yeah. See, that's sort of why I'm looking at black-white and going, maybe you could be like a tap-out control deck where you just go, well, I don't do anything.
Yeah, it needs to be
to your spells on the stack,
what
but I'm going to wipe your board.
That takes over the game.
Yeah.
And how do you beat things like Carnage Tyrant and
Carnage Tyrant, you either wrath the board and wrath it away, or you wrath away all the things around it and then go, here's my edict. I have 8 of them at the moment. No, I have access to 12 very playable edict effects.
So you've got Eldest Reborn,
Plague Crafter, and then the new split card, Consecrate Consume, which I think is a very good Magic card, and I think I'm going to be talking about it next week because I think a lot of people are sleeping on it. Because the front side is 1 and either
and then sacrifice a creature with the greatest power. Yes.
Yeah, so Consecrate is 1 and Orzhov, and it is exile target card from a graveyard and draw a card. So if someone's mucking about in the graveyard and, say, trying to get back their Carnage Tyrant with a find, you go instant speed, I'll exile that and I'll draw a card, thank you very much. Or you can just go, I'll exile something random because this ain't doing anything here and I need to draw another card. Or consume 2, a white and a black. Target player sacrifices a creature with the greatest power amongst creatures they control. You gain life equal to its power at sorcery speed. So you go, get that Carnage Tyrant off the battlefield, please, and I'll gain 7.
Wow, is that card an answer to Carnage Tyrant?
It's so good. How have people not noticed? Like, I've seen no one be like, yeah, the reign of Carnage Tyrant is over. We have Consecration.
I'll answer that with the partly people don't have our opinion on how better Golgari was than everything else.
That's also true. We came away with the opinion that there actually was a best deck, and it was Golgari. And I think a lot of other people were still in the narrative of you can play anything, and you could play anything.
I feel the Niv Mizzet deck has got close to that power level now because of how people have shifted the build of it slightly and know more about how it works and know how massive just Niv Mizzet just wins games on its own in 2 turns.
So, I mean, the simple fact of both Niv Mizzet and Carnage Tyrant makes me kind of want to have access to edicts. Right?
Yeah, I can see that.
And that does draw me towards this Abzan list, because you get to pick up Consecrate Consume, which would probably go in the sideboard, because your deck is mostly trying to do, fairly synergistic things, and there might not be enough space for Consecrate Consume in the main board, because what you're trying to do is go, here's my Hero of Precinct 1, here's my Priest of Forgotten Gods, here's a couple of multicoloured spells. I'm going to make some 1/1s. And then you go, and one of those was what's her face? The 2/2 that when you tap her, she makes a 1/1 lifelink.
You've been
playing her all
season. You mean the Green White Elf?
Yeah, yep.
That I play?
Yes.
Amara,
there we go. Amara, Soul of the Accord. And you could go, well, also one of them was Amara, and, maybe you find a way to tap her, or maybe you just go, I'm just going to attack with her and see what happens. Maybe you actually do get to attack with her, and then you go, cool, here's another 1/1 that I can sacrifice to my Priest of Forgotten Gods. Oh, everything died? Oh, never mind. I'm just going to Gruesome Menagerie it back. That feels really powerful to me.
Especially as you can make the 1/1s have lifelink if you pick your right
gives you a lot of
spells.
game against aggro decks, right? Give you a lot of game against aggro decks if you get to make some 1/1s. Actually, the list that I looked at, it was either Dylan Hand or Dylan Donegan. I cannot remember.
And if you play Taser in that,
Ooh. Oh, no. That doesn't work the way we want it to with the priest, because it's her activating, not the creatures dying, that causes the things to happen.
it doesn't trigger.
No.
No, okay.
But you could try a lender in that deck as well. You could try Taser and a lender.
And you could put... what's the 3/2 that you play in Golgari that draws you a card when it dies?
Oh, Midnight Reaper.
Yeah.
The more we talk about it, the more I'm like, actually, this could work as an Orzhov deck.
You wouldn't have Amara in if it's Orzhov, but fine.
You wouldn't, but I think you could make it work. You might have to steer away from the Hero of Precinct 1 as well and just go for a bunch of Afterlife creatures.
There aren't that many Afterlife creatures now. Aren't that many that I've gone, yeah, that's really great.
That's really good. Yeah, I know. The 2/1 for 3 that's got Afterlife
The
2.
Ministrant of Obligation, I was just looking at that.
Yeah, that's a very good one. And then Tithe Taker is kind of... They're the ones that I'm looking at going, yeah, they seem reasonable, and all the rest just look meh, including the Mythic Angel.
Yeah.
It's like, that is clearly mythic for limited, because that is not doing as much as you think it is in constructed.
Just looking through quickly on Afterlife, nothing. Seraph of the Scale? No, that's the Mythic Angel, no.
Yeah. You do get to pick up things like Imperious Oligarch and that kind of thing. So maybe you get enough of it to be going on with while you're trying to set up for your Taser, a lender.
Yeah, no, I feel you. The
triple card combo.
Getting the 3 colours is probably better. There's just not enough Afterlife to make that worthwhile.
No, that was what I found actually as I was going through it, because I was trying to do the 50 deck challenge, which I think I've basically given up on now because it's really hard. I will be starting like a week earlier next time. And I just kept looking at Afterlife and going, there's nothing here. There's like 2-3 cards maybe that I want to play out of this lot. So, And then, what you get access to is a bunch of Wraths to deal with go wide stuff. You get access to the Edict effects to deal with nonsense big things. You get access to Vraska's Contempt to deal with Planeswalkers. As I was saying earlier, there's a possibility that you try and go Jund with this, actually. You can pick up, you can sort of have a green-black shell and maybe splash something like Judith and Bedevil and try and... like, your chaff that you're sacrificing are just your explore creatures that in mid-range fights become entirely useless.
And you can find everything back anyway.
And you can find things back anyway, so maybe you're not playing the Gruesome Menagerie version, you're playing Fine Finality version, yeah.
So you have some work to do, basically.
I definitely have some work to do.
Because this is without us having talked about the current decks that exist, and could we update... I mean, we've mentioned some in passing, but you could just go, I'm going to still play Golgari.
Well, I mean, absolutely you could. You could go, okay, let's just find a couple of tweaks, let's find some minor upgrades, and let's play a safe deck that we know works, and I personally think is the best deck in the format, and we'll just play that, and I've been playing it for the last 3 months, so I know what it is I'm doing with it. And in actuality, as boring as that is, week 1, that might just be my plan.
I mean, I'll be honest, I'd rather see you play something that's new and different and interesting, even if it goes horribly wrong. So what?
Yeah, this is it. I kind of feel like maybe playing it safe in an event where I haven't had to pay entry.
Yeah. Would you rather win and everyone go, well, that was dull? Or would you rather do a Saffron Olive, essentially lose every match, but people go, that's a great deck?
That's a really interesting deck design.
I suggest this tweak and this tweak and this tweak and this tweak and get a conversation going with it.
Yeah, I think that is realistically where I'd rather be. So, as much, like, if I was going to a PPTQ, I'd be taking Golgari.
Fair.
As it is, I might be trying this Abzan thing.
Abzan thing sounds interesting.
Right? I'm not unhappy with how this sounds.
I mean, you're going to be able to goldfish it, and it will look great. It's a, does it work when there's someone on the other side?
When your opponent interacts. Yeah.
Do you have enough redundancy in your effects? Or do you have to have a particular card sitting on the battlefield and staying there?
That's why I really like the Gruesome Menagerie version.
Because
so the one that I was looking at earlier didn't have it. Yeah, because the key card is the priest of Forgotten Gods. And she costs 2, so you get to get her back with Gruesome
And you
Menagerie.
get to get her back with a 1-drop that you can sacrifice easily. Say the vampire, the 1/1 vampire that makes a token when that makes a zombie when it dies.
That is not a 1-drop.
So,
The Doomed Traveller.
Yeah.
Doomed Dissenter, rather. Doomed Dissenter is
a
a 2-mana 1/1. Yeah, which is unfortunate. See, that's what red gives you a lot of. It gives you a lot of 1-drop creatures that you're called to have sacrificed.
But you have the 1-drop that I'm playing in my current build of Selesnya that makes a 1/1 when it dies. The
Haunted Witness. Yeah, that'd be fine. You'd be cool for that. The other one
has Afterlife
is 1. Yeah, exactly. Afterlife 1 before we printed Afterlife. The other suggestion that could go in at the 1-drop slot, and I can't believe I'm discussing a non-aggro deck with a 1-drop slot, is obviously you could just go Llanowar Elves. It's a green deck.
Yeah, but you're not enough for green.
But you're not.
You want black and white 1-drops, don't you?
Yes. The other one that you could have in there is the Stitcher Supplier. And that gives you a bunch more stuff in the graveyard, so that if you Gruesome Menagerie, you get to get it back.
You don't have to have had the stuff die. It's there waiting for you to bring it in.
It's there, and you just go, oh well, I couldn't find a Priest of Forgotten Gods to get this all started, but there's one in my graveyard because I put it there with the Stitcher Supplier, and I've got this Gruesome Menagerie, so let's just bring that and the Stitcher Supplier and my Midnight Reaper, put them all back on the battlefield.
Yeah.
I could see a lot of lines that look really good with this deck, and as you say, it's going to goldfish really well. The problem is I keep looking at it and going, as soon as someone interacts with me, do I just fall over? Because if that is the case, I am going to feel really bad against both Golgari and Control. And then if Mono Red has a decent pilot behind it that's not just going dome, 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 they're going to go, oh, that seems like a key piece of whatever engine you've got going. Let's kill that.
You've also got Gutter Bones as a 1-drop.
Yeah, but you never deal... You very rarely deal damage.
You're going to have to be dealing damage, or you're not killing someone. You're just going off and drawing cards.
Yeah, but the point with Gutter Bones is that you get to... I mean, you're not wrong, actually. Maybe that's right, especially because obviously Priest of Forgotten Ways deals 2 to your opponent. So activate Priest, sacrificing it, use the 2 black to get it back.
Yes.
Pay a black to put it back on the battlefield.
Yeah.
It's not pretty, but it is a loop. Not an infinite one, but it will get you there.
You've done it. You've got it straight. You've got one of your 2 cards that you sacrifice straight back for a single black mana, and you've drawn a card.
Yeah, and force them to sacrifice a creature. Yeah.
Doesn't seem too awful.
No, I'm not against it, actually. Yeah, I've got some work to do.
Good luck.
Yeah, thanks. Like I say, I'll be dropping all the deep... Well, yeah. If I was trying to do this around work, I'd be like... I think I'd be going insane. I'd be playing Golgari.
No, because you might... Depends on what work you're doing. There are some jobs where you can sit and you have brain space to be able to play with these things around. You just have to be playing them on paper. Like going, I could do this and this and this, then try it when you get home.
Yeah.
Plenty of people do that. Okay, I think we've probably spoken enough about what you could play, and you've got some ideas there. We do have a couple of upcoming events to tell people about, so shall we do that?
Sunday, January the 27th, we've got the standard winner box at Harlequins Preston. Head over to Harlequins Preston's Facebook or their website for any further details, but relatively good, pretty early competitive standard event winner box. So something that's definitely worth looking into there, I feel. And then Simeon, what else have we got this season?
We also have on the 9th and 10th of February the Mega Magic Weekend run by Axion Now. It is the final ever RPTQ, which will qualify top 4 or top 8 for Pro Tour London. Not Pro Tour London, of course. Magic Fest London.
Yeah, absolutely.
Taking place at Stansted Airport. So on top of the RPTQ, there will be Axion Now's first 2019 Mega Modern, where the winners will get crates of Ultimate Masters and Ravnica Allegiance. So I suspect that is top 8 or getting crates or something along those lines. That would be quite normal for Axiom.
That's a lot of Magic cards and a lot of really good Magic cards, especially Ultimate Masters. That set was insane.
Yeah, that's happening on the Sunday alongside the RPTQ. And on the day before, on the Saturday, there is a team trio.
Standard, Modern, and Legacy, for those of you wondering.
So, if I'm playing that, I'm only potentially playing Standard, obviously. And also, the last chance qualifier for the RPTQ, which will be Standard.
Which is what we'll actually be playing.
If I can go, and I hope I can, but I'm not certain yet. If I can go, obviously I will play the last chance qualifier. They also are going to have UMA and Ravnica Allegiance drafts, rebound side events, awesome weekend of Magic run by one of the best TOs in the country, if not in Europe. Hopefully we can get 94 players playing the RPTQ.
Send the entire top 8 to London. That would be fantastic. What a brilliant send-off for the RPTQ system that would be. It's like, no, for the London Mythic Championship, we got the RPTQ to such a large turnout that actually everyone in the top 8 gets to go. So yeah, that would be seriously cool. Actually,
would be excellent if we can reach that. So obviously, earlier you book, the cheaper it'll be for you. 9th, 10th February, Stansted Airport, Axiom Now Mega Magic weekend.
Right then, I think with that, we've basically just spent an episode talking about sort of like what I would play. Simeon, if you were playing a standard PPTQ this weekend, what would you be playing?
I would obviously be playing tokens because that's what I know what to do. No, I think I would try and build a black-white tokens deck, making use of Elenda, because I have 4 Elendas because I played her in tokens a year ago, and she was great when she went off. I would like to see that work. It might be with a blue splash to play Dovin.
Yeah, okay. Just to make some Thopters.
And to make some dig through times.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. Because you're going so wide, you're like, well... My Dovin's now at 12 loyalty. He's going to ultimate and stick around.
So he works a bit like the Huatli, which you got loyalty for creatures, so where you ultimate lots of times.
Yeah.
But yeah, during...
each individual ultimate doesn't actually win you the game, but the fact that you get to keep doing
looking at the top 10 cards and taking the best 3, that's pretty decent, I think.
Yeah.
So that's where I'd be looking. I'll be honest, I haven't focused on what deck am I going to build with this.
You don't need to. You're going to a pre-release this weekend, and you get to fiddle about with some of the cards and have.
I've looked at what are my top 10 cards. Got first ideas for that. That's probably going to change over the coming week. I've got some ideas of what decks. I love the look of Simic. I'm very much a Gruul Smash type person, so if I had all of the cards available, I might build that as well and go, I'm going to build a Gruul deck and just go best 2 drop, best 3 drop, best 4 drop, smack you.
Punch you with the face.
And as
you fall down.
Early, it's not really aggro because it's going to go to like 6 and 7 drops, but I've got this one line that I'm going to just go down. You beat me if you can.
Linear.
Yeah, and that is the word, really.
Linear or proactive, either way you want to put it.
So I could do...
Yeah, it's not aggro, but you're presenting
I would be looking at one of
like
those, either tokens or a Gruul aggro, Gruul monsters type deck.
Yeah, I mean my love of mid-rangey decks is well known, but even I'm swayed by the power that seems to be turning up in the Teamer colours.
Teamer.
Yeah, I know, and I have loved Teamer in the past. I'd times.
Say it didn't work. Well, it didn't work in Khans, except it did work in Energy. So yeah.
Yeah, well, this is it. It didn't work in Khans, but it did work on Kaladesh. So maybe it'll work on Ravnica too. Yeah, absolutely. There's a ton of stuff to be explored. I hope everyone out there is as excited as we are, because if you can't tell, we're really excited. Yeah. The last set was an absolute bomb. It was amazing. It was brilliantly put together, and it made Standard really diverse. And this next set, there's nothing that you obviously go, well, there's a 2-card combo that ends the game, or there's one card that will, play you a 10-10, an indestructible 12-12 for 6 energy or anything stupid like. Yeah, exactly. There's nothing like that in this set. So at the moment, we are relatively hopeful. Now, I have my fears. I fear that Bant taking turns is coming back and is going to be really annoyingly powerful.
I feel Bant taking turns will come back and will be one of 10 decks that you could face.
That you can play, yeah. That's perfectly fine and occasionally falls flat on its face. And that would be fine with me. I will probably never enjoy fighting it, but it's part of a diverse ecosystem of Magic, and that is a good place for Standard to be in, so I would be relatively happy to see that when I wasn't losing to it.
Understandable.
If you'd like to have a look at any of the deck lists we spoke about this week, through the last season, maybe you're thinking there's something we've missed, there's something in a top 8 that could make a screaming comeback now with just a couple of cards out of Ravnica Allegiance, do head back over to standardintelligence.uk and check out all of the past year and a bit now top 8 PPTQ deck lists. If you'd like to get into contact with either myself or Simeon, probably the best place is on Twitter. Simeon, you are
at Simeon B MTG.
And I am at JackPatton42. If you'd like to talk to us about anything longer form, please do email standardpatton@gmail.com. We do have a YouTube now. Please do YouTube search Standard Intelligence and you'll be able to find us. This episode, like all our others, will be going up in a video format over there with cards, etc., coming up on the screen so that you can see them and understand what it is we're talking about. Also, my stream VODs go up there, but if you'd like to see the stream live, please do head over to twitch.tv/JackPatton_MTG and come hang out with us. And as a reminder, once again, this podcast is brought to you in part by our fantastic supporters on our Patreon. And I want to give another big shout out to our patrons. Thank you very much for supporting us. It's absolutely amazing. And remember that if you are qualified, if you are registered as a patron by the 5th of February, you'll be eligible for the February draw of a playset of a card from Ravnica Allegiance, one that we feel is going to be making an impact over the course of the next few months. And if you want to find out more about that, please do head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/SIcast. Yes, I'd like to thank you all very much for listening, and we'll see you all next time.
Thanks for listening. Goodbye.